I still remember the sound, not the crying, but the silence that came after. That awful, heavy silence that filled the hospital waiting room after my mother passed. She'd fought cancer for 2 years. We'd known this moment was coming, but knowing didn't make it hurt any less. My dad sat in a corner, head buried in his hands, while my younger sister clung to Mom's old scarf like it was a lifeline. It was raw, it was ugly, it was grief. And then came her. The door to the waiting area creaked open, and in walked a woman who looked like she'd just stepped out of a Pinterest board. Perfect curls, floral scarf, a face frozen in judgment. She glanced around, eyes locking on us. Her expression said it all. Inconvenience detected. "Excuse me," she snapped, marching up to the nurse's desk, her heels clicking like a metronome of irritation. "Is there a reason that family is being so loud? I'm trying to make a phone call." The nurse blinked, stunned. "Ma'am, they just—" Karen cut her off with a raised finger. "I don't care what they just did. This is a hospital, not a—" She gestured toward us. "Circus." I felt my stomach twist. For a moment, I thought I misheard her. But then I saw my sister's tears stop. Not because the pain was gone, but because the shock was louder. I stood up. "Ma'am, we just lost our mother." Karen rolled her eyes, sighing dramatically. "I'm sorry for your loss, but that doesn't mean the rest of us have to—" The nurse interjected, finally snapping. "Ma'am, please sit down or I'll have to call security." Karen gasped like she was the victim. Wow. Unbelievable. I'm being harassed for asking for peace and quiet? I wanted to scream. I wanted to tell her what peace and quiet actually sounded like. The kind that follows a heart monitor flatlining. But instead, I just sat back down, my heart pounding. Karen stormed off toward the vending machines, muttering something about entitled families. My dad hadn't said a word. He just stared at the floor, knuckles white, whispering, Don't make a scene. Not today." But I knew, deep down, this wasn't over. Because grief has a strange way of echoing, and sometimes it finds its way back to the people who try to silence it. The next morning, the world felt heavier. Not just from loss, but from everything left unsaid. We came back to the hospital to collect Mom's things. Her blanket, her Bible, the half-finished crossword puzzle she'd started that morning. The room smelled like disinfectant and heartbreak. As I was helping Dad fold her clothes into a small bag, I heard that same sharp voice echo through the hall. Karen. She was back, standing at the nurse's desk again, phone in hand, speaking loudly enough to make sure everyone heard her. "I'm telling you, this hospital needs standards," she said. "Yesterday, there were people crying like banshees. Totally unprofessional. My husband said it ruined his whole visit." My chest burned. Dad froze mid-fold, his jaw tightening. "Stay here," I told him quietly, and walked out before he could stop me. Karen noticed me immediately, her expression flickering with brief recognition, then annoyance. "Oh," she said, tilting her head. "You're that family." "Yes," I said calmly. "The family that lost their mother. The one you called loud." She scoffed. "Look, I understand people grieve differently, but screaming in a public hallway? It's inconsiderate." I took a step closer. "You were sitting 10 feet away while a woman was taking her last breaths. You could have moved if it bothered you that much." Her eyes narrowed. "You don't get to talk to me like that." The nurse from yesterday, Amy, came over. Her voice steady but eyes sharp. "Ma'am, I think it's best if you leave these people alone." Karen folded her arms. "Oh, I should leave? For speaking up?" That's the problem with people these days. No respect for rules. Amy exhaled slowly. "The only rule that matters here is compassion." Karen muttered something under her breath and turned toward the exit. But right as she reached the door, she paused. "By the way," she said without turning back, "you might think grief gives you a free pass to act however you want. It doesn't." I didn't respond, because if I did, I might have said something I'd regret. But as the door swung shut behind her, Amy whispered, "She comes here a lot. Her husband's in long-term care. I guess pain makes some people mean." That stuck with me. Because in that moment I realized Karen wasn't just cruel. She was broken too. I didn't know it then. But soon, we'd see her again. Not as the woman who complained about our grief, but as someone facing her own. A week later, I was back at the hospital. This time, not for my mom. Dad had fainted while visiting her grave. Stress, exhaustion, dehydration. The doctor's words blurred together. I sat beside his bed, scrolling aimlessly through my phone, when I heard it again. That same sharp, entitled voice echoing down the hall. "Excuse me, there's no way this is sanitary. My husband deserves better care." I froze. "Karen." I peeked out the doorway, and there she was, pacing outside a room, her tone sharp, her gestures wild. But this time, she didn't look put together. Her perfect hair was messy, her eyes red and puffy. She looked tired. Amy, the nurse, was trying to calm her down. "Ma'am, we're doing everything we can. His condition—" Karen cut her off. "Don't say condition, just fix it." Her voice cracked. That was the first time I heard it. The tremble behind her words. Not anger, fear. I walked closer, not really sure why. Maybe curiosity. Maybe something else. Amy glanced at me, then whispered, "She's been here 3 nights in a row. Her husband's not doing well." I looked through the glass window into the room. A man lay on the bed, pale, motionless, tubes running everywhere. Karen stood near him now, clutching his hand like she was holding back the inevitable. Suddenly, the image flipped something in me. I remembered my mom's final moments, her fading breath, my dad whispering, "I love you," through tears. And then I realized, Karen was about to live that same scene. I could have walked away. A part of me wanted to. But something pulled me in. I stepped forward. "Hey," I said softly. Karen turned, startled. For a moment, she didn't recognize me. Then her face fell. "You're the noisy one," I finished for her, half a smile on my face. Her lips parted, but no words came out. Just a long exhale. "He's dying," she said quietly. "They said it's only hours." I nodded. I know what that feels like. Her eyes filled with tears, but not the kind she could hide behind anger anymore. I didn't mean to be cruel. I just didn't know how to deal with it. For the first time, Karen wasn't the villain. She was just another person drowning in loss. I sat beside her for a while. We didn't talk. We didn't have to. The silence between us, the same silence she once hated, finally made sense. And when the heart monitor in that room began to slow, she reached out and held my hand. The heart monitor's beeping slowed, then stopped. For a moment, everything inside that hospital room froze. Karen didn't scream. She didn't collapse. She just stood there, staring at the man who had been her entire world, her husband. The nurse gently turned off the machine, whispering something kind, but Karen didn't seem to hear her. She brushed her fingers through his hair once, then sat down beside the bed, silent. I stayed there too, unsure if I should leave. But she looked up and whispered, "Don't go." So I didn't. She spoke after a long pause. "He was the one who always told me to calm down. Said I let the small things get too big." Her voice broke. And I did. I let everything become a war. Parking spots, noise, neighbors, even people crying for their mom. Her eyes glistened. I thought controlling things would stop me from losing them. I swallowed hard. Grief doesn't play by anyone's rules. That made her laugh softly, a cracked, fragile sound. I guess I learned that the hard way. Outside, the evening sun slipped through the blinds, casting stripes of gold across the floor. It made everything look softer, even her. When the nurse came in to cover her husband, Karen stood. Her shoulders trembled, but she didn't fall apart. Instead, she walked over to me, holding out a folded piece of paper. It was a thank you card, for the staff, for being patient with the impatient. She looked me in the eye. "You probably hate me." I shook my head. I did, but not anymore. She smiled faintly. "Then maybe there's hope for me yet." Before she left, she turned one last time toward her husband's bed and whispered something I'll never forget. "Goodbye, my love. And I'm sorry I made noise about the wrong things." That line stayed with me. Weeks later, I visited my mom's grave again. And beside her headstone, I placed a small white flower. Not for Mom. For Karen's husband. Sometimes people like her don't need punishment. They need understanding, and a moment that makes them see themselves clearly. That day in the hospital, grief connected 2 people who had nothing in common, except the sound of goodbye. And maybe that's what changed everything. Don't forget to subscribe to Only Karens for more dramatic real-life stories that'll keep you hooked. If you felt the emotions in this one, give it a like and tell us in the comments. Which moment impressed you the most?